This is Simply's Fantasy Football.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Simply's Fantasy Football, where we make your fantasy football simple and easy. So today, I'm going to be talking about the 5 players that I think have a potential to really make your fantasy football team a boomer in 2022. So, we got my iced tea. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And let's get right into the video. So my number 1 player that I'm going to be talking about today is Mr. Kadarius Toney. Straight out of Florida, I was a fan of Mr. Toney because he was kind of a jack of all trades, was a guy that showed his capability of being shifty and being great in open space. He kind of reminded me a little bit coming out of college of a guy like CeeDee Lamb. They have very similar skill sets, and I think his game, given the opportunity, will translate the same. But I'm going to tell you why people might be down on him. So he only played 10 games this year, so he missed 7 games in 2021. He was playing with atrocious quarterback play, so people only really saw the side of Kadarius Toney that his quarterbacks allowed them to see. I mean, his quarterbacks this year were Daniel Jones, who played subpar, Mike Glennon, who played subpar would be a nice way to put it, and Jake Fromm. I don't even have to say any more. With that kind of quarterback play, you can't really expect the most intriguing fantasy production from a player like that. And not only that, I mean, he had under 500 yards receiving, which we're seeing all these rookie wide receivers coming into the league and tearing it up their first year. You got Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, you got Jamar Chase, you got a bunch of guys like the Jalen Waddle that are coming in and they're pro ready right when they start. And it's kind of hurting guys like Kadarius Toney who might not come into the league and set the world on fire right away. So here's my case for a breakout, though, for Kadarius Toney. 1, I think it's pretty obvious to me that I think he'll play more games than 10 games. He's going to play more than just over half of the games, so he's going to have more of an opportunity to show what he can produce on the NFL field. 2, his quarterback play has to be better than what it was last year. I mean, I can't imagine he's going to go through 3 or 4 starting quarterbacks in 1 year and go through so much overturn when it comes to what he's dealing with, whether it was even having your running back 1 out or other wide receivers that were going to be helping him out, like Kenny Golladay, who was out multiple games, or your starting quarterback was out multiple games. I mean, they were just all year in and out of their roster were different key pieces that were just someone that would help benefit the game of Kadarius Toney that they didn't have on a consistent basis. Now, I also believe if you watched him play, when he did get the ball or when he got opportunity, you saw these little flashes of this electric player that they thought he was going to be coming out of Gator Nation. I mean, he was a guy that if you looked at him on tape, you would say, wow, this guy's got insane, shifty, nasty ability. He's going to be a dude in the NFL. But again, when you have such limited time on the field, when you have such limited resources as far as quarterback being able to throw the ball to you, so you're limited by all these other things like that I've already named. You can't really show that in its totality. Also, another big thing that I think is really going to help is I believe the Giants' new GM really knows what he's doing. I mean, this GM was a part of the Buffalo Bills organization from 2017 to 2021. He was an assistant general manager for the Buffalo Bills in those years, and I think those are the years we saw the biggest growth for the Buffalo Bills, and they turned them into the team that everybody was rooting for against the Kansas City Chiefs in that AFC playoff series. That was just the most incredible playoff game that I've probably ever witnessed. So when you think about that, even if this GM doesn't necessarily rebuild the Giants the way that I think he'll be able to, there's even a possibility he says, I didn't draft him. I'm even willing to package him to try and get something. And I mean, I don't think he can go to a worse situation on paper right now than the New York Football Giants. But I do think that if they let this GM take over the way that they've let him, I think that he's going to do a good job of making his way into a really impactful fantasy player. And I mean, he still has draft capital backing him up too, so they're really incentivized in this organization to make him work out for them, because they did just use a first-round draft pick on him not even a year ago. So that's my first player, my case against why people are down on him, and also my case for their breakout. My second player is a guy who got injured pretty prematurely in the year that people were kind of high on coming into the year because of the new quarterback situation, and I'm talking about DJ Chark. So first I'm going to say why people are down on him. Well, he only played 4 games in 2021. And when you only play 4 games, it's really hard to say that you can stay on the field. Even if it was for the same injury, and even if it was a bigger injury, he had a hard time coming back from that injury. 2, people are uncertain about his landing spot. He's a free agent this year. They do not know where he's going to go. They do not feel necessarily comfortable giving up a certain amount to acquire a guy. They are uncertain about his future. And 3, he really hasn't been fantasy relevant consistently since 2019, which is the year that he had over 1,000 yards receiving, and he had many touchdowns, and he was showing people what his capability is. Had everything fallen, all the dominoes fell in the right direction for DJ Chark. Now, those are the negatives, but the case for a breakout, for me, the case for a resurgence of DJ Chark would be he's still 6'4", 200 pounds, so he's still got all the intangibles he had when he had 1,000 yards receiving. Not only that, but if you look historically at teams that have the number 1 overall draft pick, their situation can only improve from where it's at. I mean, right now, his situation was at an all-time low. They had a horrible offensive line, so their quarterback didn't have time to throw. They had, 2 years ago, they had subpar quarterback play with Nick Foles and Gardner Minshew. That was the year that they decided to pay Nick Foles way more money than anybody. I mean, I guess he beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, so you can't really put a money cap on a guy like that because he's just a Philly legend. But anyways, but his situation's only going to improve. I mean, Trevor Lawrence got, well, if he might not go back to the Jaguars, so I guess I can't say anything about Trevor Lawrence, but even last year when he was playing, he was almost averaging 6 targets a game. And I mean, 6 targets a game is not that much, but he was, again, that was the first 4 games of the career for Trevor Lawrence. So if you're really thinking about it, he has the upside as far as what you're looking for in a player to boom for the price tag that you'll be able to get DJ Chark for. I think he's a guy that would be worth trying to roster in 2022. So the next guy that I'm also going to be talking about is another wide receiver. Now this guy, I'm going to tell you why they're down on this guy, and then I'm going to tell you who he is. Well, 1, his sophomore season paled in comparison to his rookie season. He had under half of the yards in his sophomore season than he did in his rookie season, partially because it was an injury-riddled season for this player. And there was an emergence of one wide receiver on his team that may have overshadowed anything that showed glimpses of him being better for the next year. That player that I am talking about is Jeudy. Now, even though Jeudy had these things going against him, I think that there is a strong case for a breakout in 2022. And here's what I think. I think that the talk around town in Denver, any things I've read, articles I've read, is they are fishing with a big net this year in hopes of capturing a bigger talent. So I've read things that have linked them to trying to attract Aaron Rodgers there. And I know that they are very unhappy with the quarterback play of Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock. So I know that they know in a division with Patrick Mahomes, a division with Justin Herbert, a division with gunslingers, they do not stand a chance of getting out of this purgatory without getting a guy that knows how to sling the ball. So I think that means that they are going to manage one way or another to pull out their pocketbooks and acquire a guy that will make Jerry Jeudy's stock on the rise. 2, he's going to get healthy. He's not going to play as limited games as he did last year. I mean, he was nagged by that same injury all year, and it's something that I don't think he'll have to deal with again in 2022. And he's still a top 15 draft pick. I mean, he was arguably the best wide receiver in that class, even though he was not taken first. Arguably, he was the best receiver, best graded receiver coming into the year that year. And I would just argue that Jerry Jeudy has tremendous capabilities on the football field. It's just about giving him the pieces around him, the quarterback, which I think they're going to make a push for, and getting him on the field constantly and just getting the ball in his hands. I think Jerry Jeudy is the next player that I think you're going to want to try and roster going into this year. So my 4th player, again, I'm going to do the same kind of thing. So this guy underperformed their draft expectations mightily. They were on a bad team with a bad offensive line and with lots of moving parts. People were saying this guy was the next John Elway and that he was going to be the guy to turn a franchise around immediately. Well, in case you haven't guessed it yet, Trevor Lawrence is the man I'm talking about, and I think 2022 is the year for the flow because, one, I want to start with, you're definitely going to have less distractions in 2022. I don't think Urban Meyer is going to be making a comeback anytime soon, and I think that's a big part of a culture in the locker room is trying to navigate, especially as a young player, the ebbs and flows of the locker room, the players, how everyone's feeling. And when you got a coach who is losing the locker room in the middle of the year and you're just trying to play through it, you're trying to learn and you're trying to bond as a team, I think that takes a big toll on a young quarterback who's trying to thrive in the National Football League. 2, he's got one of his comfort pieces back. I mean, ETN is going to be back fully healthy in 2022, and he's going to be a guy that can just give him a little bit of comfort and a little bit of kind of like when you go home and you eat mom's cooking, you just get a little bit of nostalgia. I think ETN brings him a little bit of comfort going into the draft. I also think they're going to address their 2 biggest needs, which is the offensive line, and I would be shocked if they don't, either in free agency or in the draft, address the wide receiver room, because last year they literally were pulling cornerbacks off of their defensive off of their defensive depth chart and saying, hey, Jamal Agnew, why don't you go catch passes for us? We'll give you a lot of them too. We'll give you a lot of targets. I just don't think the wide receiver group can be as banged up or as depleted as it was last year. And I think Doug Peterson can be that guy for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And my biggest case for something like that is, if you look at the peak of Doug Peterson's career, is when he had Carson Wentz and he turned him into an MVP candidate, and he had made him look like he was just all world and he was going to be just a staple in the NFL for a long time. And Doug Peterson that same year, he took Nick Foles and beat a multiple hand-wearing Super Bowl ring quarterback in Tom Brady. I just think that Doug Peterson is a signing that's being slept on right now. And I think for a quarterback room that needs some confidence and needs some direction, I think Doug Peterson can be that guy for Trevor Lawrence. So that's my case for why Trevor Lawrence should be a guy that you target in 2022. Now, my very last player in this one is going to be a little risky. I don't mean risky because he's not got talent, and I don't mean risky because I think that he comes with a lot of risk as far as to when you're going to have to take him or what you'd have to give up to get him if you're in like a dynasty league. What I mean by that is risky because I might lose respect from some of you guys for even mentioning this player after some of the shenanigans that we have witnessed from him this year. So, Chase Claypool. I'm going to tell you why people are down on Chase Claypool. One, he had massive touchdown regression from year 1 to year 2, and he just was not the guy that everyone thought he was going to blossom into after his big year 1 where he had double-digit touchdowns as a rookie. And, I mean, he wasn't even targeted nearly as much as people had hoped going off of year 1 and what they expected for year 2. I mean, not only that, but if you watch the way Tomlin was running his offense, Najee Harris, when he came in, he stole a lot of the receiving work. And that might be a problem for some people because they view that as just an offensive scheme and Najee's still there, and they might keep doing that in the future. And for reasons that I shouldn't have to mention, but I'm going to anyways, he's kind of a bonehead. I mean, you got the celebrating when time was winding down, or saying that they need to have music at practice to make it less strenuous on the players, or just stuff like that. It's guys, just when you listen to him, when you listen to him talk, and you hear some of the stuff he says, it's hard to want to watch a guy like that succeed. But I'm going to give you the case for why I think he's due for a breakout in 2022. So he's going to have a new quarterback. So new QB, new me, right? The Ben Roethlisberger of 2021 was not the Ben Roethlisberger that we are used to seeing in years past. I mean, the guy looked like he was pushing 300, looked like he did not know how to throw the ball more than 30 yards down the field without needing to go see a chiropractor when he was done. And I just feel like he was winning downfield this year. He was winning on his routes, but he was hampered by Big Ben's play, and Big Ben not even looking down the field. Like I said before, Najee kind of stole a lot of the work in the passing game, but now that Big Ben is gone, I think that this could be a huge thing for one guy on the team, and I think that is Chase Claypool, because he is their biggest deep threat. So, I mean, we saw his potential in year 1. He's definitely possible for another successful campaign because we know he has the ability to do it, as he did in the first year. And I think another big thing, like we talked about with the last guy, I think coaching is big here. I think Mike Tomlin's not stupid. I think he saw how his offense was being negatively affected by not having a big opportunity to any game. He didn't have the opportunity to just let it fly and have confidence that any of the big plays that he would try to attempt would actually hit, because Big Ben just didn't come with the big play package this year you would get on a video game. So what I'm trying to say is, I think Chase Claypool, with the right quarterback, which I think they're going to get a good quarterback, I think that they actually are going to try and push for a guy like Malik Willis if he will fall to them, or they might even trade up for him. But I think that they are due for a better arm at QB, and that he is only going to see a better production from last year to this year, and that's why I think you should get him now while his value is lower for next year in 2022. So those are my 5 players that I have a case for as to why I think that you should get them now while their values are lower, even if it's just to get them buy low and sell high. You don't even have to keep them all year. Even if it's just a buy low, sell high candidate, these 5 players, these are my picks for 2022 as to what you can buy low and definitely sell higher than what you could get them for as of right now. So, thanks for watching the video. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we'll see you back here for the next video.